okay? Not like you, putting people to sleep.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Miami, Season 5, Reunion Parts 1 and 2. Let me just start off by saying that if I couldn't stand Alexia, Larsa, and Marysol before, I really don't like them now. Y'all are so hateful and so evil, and the disdain and the jealousy that you have for Dr. Nicole is disgusting. Alexia, your parents did a piss poor job raising you because at your grown age, you can't take accountability for anything that you do. Andy was grilling you like you don't have any remorse, you don't want to apologize to anybody, and here you are, no, no, no. Like, what's wrong with you? Talking about I'm a star and that's just how I am. You need help. And I really wish that Nicole was a better reader, because the way I would have read them down, none of them could ever come for me about anything, especially Larsa and Marysol. But these first two parts were great, giving what the other girls were supposed to have gave, in the words of the iconic Rolling Ray, because I'm low-key excited for the third part. But without further ado, let's just jump right on into it, because we have a lot to cover, a lot to discuss, and we don't have a minute to spare. Now, we open up the first part of this reunion with all the ladies arriving in New York. They're getting glammed up. We see that Miss Lisa has a new boyfriend. I said good for her, because the hell that she went through and is still going through with Lenny, she deserves. Then we see Larsa getting ready. She brought her new boyfriend with her, who's Michael Jordan's son, Marcus. And best believe we're going to get into all that too, because when Andy brought up that whole thing about her and Marcus dating, Larsa, you sounded crazy. Now, I loved how we got the shade the minute the lady sat down on stage, because the set was a recreation of Nicole and Anthony's engagement party. So Andy says to Nicole, Nicole, do you recognize where we are? And she says, I do, Andy. Then when Nicole said, Larsa, do you recognize where we are? And Larsa said, no, where are we? And Nicole said, of course you wouldn't, because this set was our engagement party. And Larsa's face looked so dumb. I said, exactly, Nicole, let her know. Now, one thing about Miami, they always come through with the fashions. I thought that everybody looked good. And you see how jealous and hateful Alexia is anytime somebody else gets praise and attention, because when Andy said to Gertie, Gertie, stand up, let me see that gown, you look stunning. And Gertie's gown was a showstopper. And then here goes Alexia, yeah, Andy, let me show you my gown. You see it? The back is giving very much Halle Berry. And they were all like, girl, please. I was like, Alexia, you really can't stand when somebody else gets any attention. Alexia sucks all the air out the room. I can't stand people like that. They always need all eyes on them every single time. It's not always about you. Yes, your gown was pretty, Alexia, but Gertie stole the show. Period, point blank. So we started off with Andy reading the first viewer question for Nicole, and the viewer wants to know, how can Nicole and Anthony afford a $40 million home, yachts, a private plane, and all these cars? So Nicole says, well, first of all, we didn't pay $40 million for the house, we paid $13 million for it. They pan the camera to Alexia, and Alexia's face looked so cracked. I said, baby, you are just so jealous. You can't even hide it. So Nicole goes on to add that in addition to Anthony being a great lawyer, he's also a very good businessman and he flips houses. So now Alexia interjects and she says to Nicole, but is it your money or is it all Anthony's money? So Nicole claps back and says, well, either way, I spend his money like it's mine.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
And I said, again, Nicole, let her know. His money is my money. First of all, Alexia, where do you get off on questioning Nicole about their arrangement? You are very envious of Nicole, and it shows. It really eats you up inside that Nicole is 20 years younger than you, because you're what, 55, 56? And Nicole is 36, and she's living the dream. And she also has an amazing career of her own. So now Andy moves on to Julia, and he's asking about Martina's double diagnosis. Remember that Martina was diagnosed with throat and breast cancer. So we learned that Martina had gotten her mammogram and they didn't detect anything. So then I think she wasn't feeling well a few weeks later, and they found out that she had a swollen lymph node. So Julia goes on to say that they all thought that the swollen lymph node was a side effect of the shingles vaccine. And once again, here Alexia goes interrupting and trying to make the conversation about her. She's talking about, yeah, I was too afraid to get my shingles vaccine. We don't care, Alexia, shut up. So now Andy wants to know how Lisa's doing. He's asking her about the divorce proceedings. So Lisa says that she had no idea how long divorces took. They still haven't seen a judge yet, and it's been very emotionally taxing. So now we also learned from Andy that Bravo had reached out to Lenny. They invited him to come and tell his side of the story, and he declined. Now, personally, I'm not surprised to hear that Lenny declined, because what could Lenny say to defend his actions? So Lisa confirms that she watched that hot mic moment the same time as everybody else, and it confirmed a lot of her suspicions. Now, Lisa, here's where I have to ask you a few questions. And it's no shade, but clarify some things for me, because I'm still not believing how you were so blindsided about Lenny packing his bags and leaving you. You let it be known that before last year's reunion, you had caught Lenny and this same woman in your hot tub together. And right there, I'm like, Lisa, how could you not see the signs? Lenny has always been disrespectful and pretty much flaunting it in your face that he was with other women. I'm just a bit confused as to how Lisa can act like I'm just so caught off guard by Lenny leaving when the signs were there from the beginning. When you also revealed that throughout your marriage, Lenny would threaten you with divorce. That right there is a huge red flag. It's apparent that you put up with a lot of toxicity just to have this image of having this great life, when in reality, it was anything but that. Lisa, you also annoyed me when you said that you still buy him groceries. Absolutely not. He wanted to kick you and your children out of the home. He's treating you like complete garbage, like you're worthless. And you're gonna sit up here and buy him groceries? Like, what's going on? Doesn't he have a new girlfriend? Let her buy him groceries. Why are you doing it? So Andy makes it clear that he's confused as to why Lenny would participate in filming this season if he knew that he wanted to leave her. So Lisa says, well, actually, Lenny had planned on leaving me after filming Wrapped. But we learned that he wanted to speed up the process because they had gone to some charity event in Miami, and after the charity event was over, she and some friends went out to an after party, and she got home around 4 a.m. And she said that when she got in the bed, she could feel that Lenny was so disgusted by her, and he told her right then and there that he was done with the marriage. He wanted a divorce. I was happy to hear Lisa say that if Lenny did try to get back with her, she would say no, and that she's not in love with him. Now at this point, we see Adriana and Marysol come out. Marysol being extra with the bullhorn. I said, okay, girl, just sit down. You guys know I can't stand Marysol. I think that we all feel the same way about Marysol. She's such a try-hard. Her trying to make cockies a thing, it's like, okay, girl, you sound dumb. Stop trying to make fetch happen. But Andy reads a viewer question to Adriana asking, why was Adriana so judgmental of Larsa's BBL when she ran and got one herself? So now you have Larsa still lying, saying that it's from working out. She did not have a BBL. And it's like, Larsa, you need help. Who are you trying to fool? We know what you look like. Season 1, your body was straight up and down. She didn't have curves. And she was pretty, but she didn't have the body that she has now. You didn't get all that from working out. I feel sorry for somebody who lies to themselves like that. It is 2023, sis. Nobody's judging you. Just admit it. And then we have more lies and more delusions, because when Andy asked Marysol about her drinking And you have Marysol deflecting, saying, well, we all drink a lot in this group, and if I'm being honest, Nicole drinks the most out of everybody. I said again, y'all hate that woman so bad. Marysol, nobody drinks more than you do. You drink in every confessional with that stupid Starbucks cup. You look so dumb and desperate. You drink all the time. There have been several episodes where you've said, I'm not going to eat anything, I'm just going to drink. And you're pouring up all the vodka. It's like, you need help. And even Nicole was like, now how am I in this? How do I drink more than you? Your brand is trying to make alcoholism funny, and it's not funny. I understand wanting a drink. I understand liking a good drink, but you take it to another level. And it's the only thing that you can talk about because you have nothing else going on in your life. And then you have the audacity to say that Nicole is a mean drunk. I said once again, sis, how? You're the mean drunk. Did Nicole steal your man? Did she steal your money? Because why do you hate her so bad? Marysol has been on Nicole's neck since last season, and I don't understand it. But here goes Marysol still lying, saying that Nicole punched her in the arm at her engagement party. I said, y'all are grasping at straws. This is so pathetic to watch. I mean, these women really hate her. And then you have Alexia saying, did you mean to get so defensive? And Nicole said, absolutely. You guys are coming for my career, my character, my reputation. So I damn sure was defensive. Now here's where I started screaming, and not in a good way. When they got to Nicole's segment and Andy brought up the relationship that Nicole has with her dad, and Alexia and Larsa chimed in, and they pretty much blamed Nicole. You have Alexia saying, that's your dad, those are our parents, you have to respect them, it doesn't matter what they did. Then you have Larsa saying he was a grown man being treated like a child on national TV. And I wanted Nicole to curse them both out. First of all, you guys are out of line. That is her dad. Nicole has every right to be upset, to be angry, to be sad, to be resentful, because her dad wasn't there for her. And the fact that they were trying to shame her for how she feels, I said, oh no. Again, I would have cursed them both out because how dare you? Now, in the Black community, there is a heavy emphasis on respect when it comes to parent and children relationships, or pretty much child-adult relationships, right? For me, I know that several other content creators are with me on this, but I have never believed that just because somebody's older than me, that I have to take disrespect. And while my parents were amazing, I still feel for Nicole going through what she went through with her dad. And I would feel the same way if my dad wasn't there. And nobody can tell her how to feel. And that is such BS to say, well, he's your dad, so you have to respect him and let it go. No, she doesn't. I don't believe that you have to forgive somebody because that's your parent or, that's your elder. I don't believe in that. If they treated you poorly, you have every right to hold that grudge, in my opinion. And when Larsa kept interrupting Nicole while Nicole was trying to talk, and she said, but those are your parents, and we can't change our parents. And then when Nicole started crying, I was so upset. I wanted to jump through that TV so badly because, again, you guys hate this woman so bad that you want to diminish her feelings at every single turn. It's sick. Nicole should not be forced to talk to her dad if she does not want to. Nicole, I love you, but I need you to stop all this crying and really get into them. Stop letting them cut you off when you're talking. Stop letting them invalidate how you feel. Speak up. You should have put both of them in their places and said, mind your business. It's my segment. It's my dad. Don't tell me how to feel about anything. I would have clocked the both of them because they're out of order. And Alexia is the last person to talk about anybody when she has her son Peter out here doing God knows what in these streets. So Andy wants to know the status of Nicole's relationship with her dad. Nicole says that it's baby steps. They're hanging out a bit more, but she still hasn't met her dad's girlfriend. So Nicole makes a joke about how her dad's girlfriend is younger than she is. I think she's like 29. And Larsa always gets defensive every time she feels slighted because you have her saying, well, why does that matter? Why bring up your dad's girlfriend's age? Who cares if she's in her 20s? And it's like, Larsa, again, sit down. It is a bit weird. Let's just call a spade a spade. It is weird. You're 28, 29 with a 75-year-old, and Nicole's dad, I don't even think has money like that. That's what makes it even worse. So since Larsa wants to open her mouth, Andy now reads a viewer question to her about the age gap between her and Marcus Jordan. So one thing about Larsa always plays dumb like Giselle does on Potomac. So she's like, wait, what? I don't even think about the age difference between us. And I said, I'm sure you don't. And then when she said, well, how old is Marcus? He's what, 32? And then she was trying to act like she can't remember how old she is. And then they were like, girl, you're 48. It's 16 years between you guys. And she's like, oh, well, we don't really care. So now we get to the Alexia portion, unfortunately. And Andy kicks it off with saying that they're all low-key narcissists. And now Adriana gives Andy the textbook definition of what a narcissist is. So now Alexia says, well, that's definitely not me, but I will say that the one benefit of being a narcissist is that you have a lot of self-confidence. And I said, well, I guess. Now, I was happy to see Gertie get in the game because she clocked in for work and said, but you calling yourself a star and saying that we're all jealous of you, that's not it. So now you have Alexia saying, Gertie, shut up. We're not talking about jealousy. And by the way, you called yourself a star last season. So I said, the reach. And even Gertie said, but when I said that, I was joking, Alexia. So let's not. And Alexia, you already know that Gertie's personality is not like that. When she said that about herself, she was joking. It was in good fun. When you said it, you really meant it because you're delusional and self-centered. So now Nicole calls out Alexia and she's like, you always belittle everybody on here. It's not right. It's really sad. So now Alexia says that they're all resentful of her because she's resilient and they try to bring up her pain to hurt her. Once again, Alexia gets an A+ in being delusional. I don't think that I have ever seen a housewife lack this much self-awareness. I think that Alexia might be in a class all by herself. Because for her to say that they're resentful of her because of how resilient she is, you're not the only one who's gone through things. They all have. Who are you? Alexia has a very nasty spirit, and she cannot take when people call her out about it. She's a mean girl at her big age. You're 55 acting like you're 15. It's embarrassing. Grow up. So now you have Gertie and Alexia getting into it. Gertie is still upset because she sent Alexia flowers and Alexia never thanked her. So Alexia says, well, I thought that it was staged and planned. I didn't think that it was sincere. And I was thinking, again, what is your problem? You can't say thank you. You really have an issue, but yet you want to be the judge of other people's manners. Like when Nicole plopped down her black Amex, you were talking about who does that? That's tacky. That's poor etiquette. But yet you can't thank your friend for sending you some flowers. Alexia is one of those people where she believes that the rules apply to everybody else but her. Now, when Alexia really went in on Gertie, that's when I really got pissed. Because when she said, Gertie, you're hard to work with, you belittle everybody, you treat your driver like trash, you treat your husband like trash, you castrate him. And I wanted Gertie to curse her out. So now Andy calls out Alexia for making that ignorant remark about Russian women when they were in the Florida Keys. So Alexia says that she was so sorry and she had no idea that it was a stigmatism. And they all start laughing. Nicole says, girl, you mean a stigma. So now Marysol jumps in and says, shut up, Amex. And then Nicole says, girl, I can be your co-signer so that you can get one too. I said, come through, Nicole. Let her know that she could never get a black American Express card. Let her know that that initiation fee is what, $12,000? And you have to spend $250,000 each year to keep it? Let her know. She could never. I was here for it. And Marysol's face was so cracked. There was no reason for you to say anything to Nicole in that moment. You tried it and then you got red. And I'm real petty because I would have said, and do you even have a platinum? Do you even have a gold? So Alexia apologizes to Julia again. Julia says, well, thank you for the apology. This one actually felt real. That first apology that you gave me felt fake. So now we change gears in the conversation. Andy's asking Alexia, why didn't she feel the need to apologize when she found out that Adriana's date wasn't married? So Alexia says, well, I didn't feel the need to apologize because she rented him like she did with the last man. Then she goes on to say that Adriana's rented man wanted fame out of it and he got it. So she won't be apologizing. Once again, Alexia is a very hateful soul. And the fact that this woman wants everybody to apologize to her when she feels slighted or wronged, but she can't offer the same courtesy is disgusting. And then when she said, Adriana resents everything about me. She wants my husband. She wants my life. She wants my watch. And it's like, again, Alexia, who do you think you are? Like, Alexia, you do understand that if this show should be canceled tomorrow, you will be fading back into obscurity and we won't care about you. The fact that you think that you're this A-list celebrity in your mind is peak delusion. So they're going back and forth, and then Adriana brings out her receipts and she says, look, here's a text message with one of my other friends from 2020 where I said that I don't touch married guys. It's bad karma. So now Alexia's in the background talking about, well, I thought that he was married. It is what it is. So now Nicole jumps in and she says, but the fact that you thought he was married and you were trying to set him up with Adriana, well, what does that say about you? So Alexia's trying to deflect, and then Andy jumps in and says, yeah, it does appear that you were trying to set Adriana up with a married man. Now, thank God that Andy somewhat held Alexia's feet to the fire, because when he said to her, Alexia, it appears that you have a very hard time taking ownership for the things that you say and do. The viewers have all expressed that. You can't seem to apologize. Why is that? So you have Alexia looking really silly, and she's like, well, you know what? Maybe that is true, but I just feel like that's who I am, and when I do apologize, my apologies are sincere. And I wanted to say to her, well, girl, who have you apologized to? You barely wanted to apologize to Julia. So now Nicole jumps in and makes a great point. She says, Alexia, the issue that I have with you is that when you feel wronged by somebody, you want an apology immediately. But when you wrong somebody else, it seems like you don't want to give an apology, and that's not right. So now you have Larsa coming to Alexia's defense, and I said, since when is Larsa Alexia's mouthpiece? It's so annoying. And so she says, well, Nicole, why didn't you apologize to me for judging me all last season? And once again, Larsa, when did Nicole judge you? You keep saying that. Nicole was cordial to you all last season. You're just pressed because you're jealous of her. You're trying to make an issue where there is no issue. And I was so happy when Nicole said, well, where's my apology when you came for my child? You called my child a bastard. Talking about, well, that's why you have a kid out of wedlock. And you saw how Larsa had nothing to say then? Because, again, Larsa is the same as Alexia. She cannot take ownership for what she says either. And honestly, after that whole comment that Larsa made last season, if I were Nicole, I would have never spoken to Larsa again. Larsa could not say hello, goodbye, nothing to me. I would have paid her dust this entire season because that was a very nasty comment to make. And Larsa is the last one to talk about anybody when she was out here low-key committing adultery, going out with all these men while still being legally married to Scottie Pippen. And I don't care that, oh, well, they were in the process of getting a divorce and they were separated. They were still legally married. It's just so funny that Larsa has done all these grimy things, but yet wants to call other people out. How does that work? So now Andy brings up the American Express moment when Nicole plopped it down on the lawyer's lap, and he's asking if she could understand why the other ladies thought it was in bad taste. So Nicole says that she definitely expected them to be surprised by her doing that. And I was glad that Nicole did not apologize. I wouldn't have apologized for that either. The day I get a Black American Express card, I'm plopping it down every chance I get. I plop mine down proudly now. So imagine when I upgrade and get a black one. Please. So Lisa jumps in and says that honestly, everybody was embarrassing that day, not just Nicole. So now Larsa says, but we weren't plopping down our credit cards, only Nicole did that. And I said, but still, sis, you guys all made fools of yourselves. So don't try to put this all on Nicole. I want to understand the psychosis behind why you all hate somebody who's never bothered you. It is sheer jealousy, and until you guys can admit it, you will never be at peace. So now Nicole interjects to address Alexia, and she says, Alexia, the bottom line is that when you're the one who has to apologize, you don't want to do it. When you made the Russian comment to Julia, you didn't want to apologize. But when Adriana said something about your son, you made her grovel and beg for 3 whole episodes. So Alexia tries to shut Nicole down. She's like, shut up, Nicole. This package is all about me. It's not about you. And I loved how Andy clocked her and said, no, it's a dialogue. Everybody can speak. I said, thank you. Alexia has let this show go to her head. And I'm so happy that Andy humbled her because she was doing the absolute most. So we end this first part with Alexia saying that Nicole attacked her all season long. And I was like, Alexia, are you on drugs? What season were you watching? It was a total opposite. Then Lisa jumps in, and now Alexia snaps at Lisa, and she says, no offense, Lisa, but if you thought that you were a star, you wouldn't have put up with all that stuff that Lenny put you through all those years in your marriage. Lisa's supposed to be your good friend, and for you to say that to her, that is absolutely disgusting. First of all, that had nothing to do with anything that Lisa said. Lisa was trying to get you to understand where everybody else was coming from. Lisa is a lot better than I am, because I would have said something to really hurt Alexia's feelings. So we open up part 2 with Alexia still being nasty, and Lisa's like, girl, you're taking what I said out of context. I wasn't even trying to come at you. And Lisa, you're also way too nice, because there's no way in hell that I would have let that slide. I would have read Alexia for filth. So now Lisa says, look, Alexia, I love you, you're my friend, but I have to be honest. You don't let people speak, you interrupt them, you cut them off, you yell and scream at them, and that's not cool. So now Alexia says, well, that's just how I am. And that's a really piss poor answer. And once again, every time Alexia is called out about her bad behavior, she always wants to deflect and give excuses. Because then she said, well, the way that I am, it helps me overcome all the obstacles in my life. Well, I'm sorry, but that's a really bad way to overcome obstacles. The rest of us know how to speak to people, and we have some common courtesy and decency. What's your excuse? Alexia wants to act like she's this poor victim. Oh my gosh, I went through all this. Oh my gosh, poor me. Like, baby, we all have a story. You are not the only one. She wants all this sympathy and grace for her, but when it comes to other people, she wants to be all nasty and rude. Again, how does that work? Alexia, you're real lucky that I'm not on this cast, because the way I would have chewed you out, you would have been leaving that stage crying. So at this point, even Andy was tired of Alexia. He was like, okay, let's wrap this up. Alexia, do you want to apologize to anybody or no? So Alexia says, once again, I want to apologize to Julia, and I also want to say I'm sorry to Gertie. I think between me and Gertie, it was a miscommunication. So Gertie happily accepts that half-assed apology, and I said it couldn't be me, because I would not have sat up there and accepted that apology. It took you 4 months later for you to finally say sorry and recognize that you've been an asshole. So Andy dismisses them. They have like a 20-minute break to get touched up, and they're all back in their dressing rooms. Now, here's where things get really weird. While Julia's getting touched up, Alexia goes over to her and she's like, Julia, all I wanted to say was I'm sorry, and you didn't seem to be so receptive of the apology, but I do love you and I'm sorry. Now, mind you, Julia and Adriana share the same dressing room, so while they're talking, Adriana looks over and you could see that her facial expression, she was not here for Alexia going over there. So now Julia brings up Adriana's comment about Frankie and the accident, and she's pretty much trying to tell Alexia that Adriana didn't mean what she said. So now Alexia's like, nope, we're not talking about Adriana right now. We're not talking about that. And then she goes on to say that her and Adriana were never real friends like that anyway. They were always superficial friends. So now Julia's confused because she says, but weren't you bridesmaids in her wedding? So now Alexia brings up how she's still angry at Adriana because of when Adriana spilled that tea about how Herman was allegedly found on top of his lover when he passed away. So Adriana says, now girl, that's not what I said. So now you have Alexia saying that Adriana's disgusting and evil. And I said, oh, well, look in the mirror, sis, because that's you. Can somebody please help me locate Alexia's self-awareness? I want to find it. The jokes truly write themselves that Alexia, of all people, would sit up here and call somebody else disgusting and evil. Alexia does not get any sympathy from me because the way she did Nicole this season, absolutely not. So at this point, Alexia and Adriana are screaming at each other. Nothing's being solved. And now Alexia walks back over to Julia. She's like, I'm not doing this with her. So now Julia says that they should all be kinder to each other. And even if they're not best friends, they need to stop all this arguing. So now you have Alexia trying to play the victim yet again, and she's giving us tears this time. So she starts crying and she's like, you know, I'm a really sweet and nice person, but you guys have me pegged as this mean girl and it's not right. And I said, don't blame anybody else, Alexia. Stop acting like Nicole, Julia, and Gertie are swaying the viewers. We have eyes. You are a mean girl. Like I always say, you cannot be the villain and the victim at the same time. That's not how this works. Getting in people's faces, screaming at them, cursing at them, spreading lies about them, and not apologizing. Where is that kind and sweet? I'll wait. And I was so happy when Adriana said, girl, stop all those tears. Like, we're not doing this. You want to break out the waterworks to now get sympathy? We're not doing that. So now Alexia turns around and she's like, shut up, Adriana, you're the devil. And once again, it's really comical how you of all people could call anybody the devil. And the secondhand embarrassment jumped out when Alexia said, Adriana, you want to be blonde. That's why you're acting like this. And I was like, girl, what? If Adriana wants to dye her hair blonde, all she has to do is go to the salon. Like, what are you talking about? Do you hear yourself? You are 55 talking about somebody's jealous of you because they want to be blonde? Excuse me? So the break is over. The ladies are back on the set and we have Kiki joining them. Kiki looked good. She looked pretty. She always looks good though. But she's happy to be there because I remember that she wasn't there for the last reunion. So I know she was happy to be here for season 5. So anyhow, Andy's asking Kiki about her Burger King moment. Remember at Adriana's video shoot when Kiki pulls out that Whopper and ate it? And Kiki, you and I are right here, and I'm a bit embarrassed to admit this. I might edit this out, but sometimes, and I mean sometimes I do get a craving for a Whopper. Don't judge me. But when I do indulge in some fast food, there's nothing like a good Whopper. I feel like Burger King's burgers are so good. They have that distinct taste. And I think that their fries are so good too. Like, I low-key have always had a special place in my heart for Burger King. So I was like, Kiki, I get it. And I'm so embarrassed to admit this, but since I've been sitting here talking for all this time, I'm like craving one right now just talking about it. And when I tell you that I screamed when Andy read that viewer question asking Julia, how does she not know the name of her daughter's school? And Julia still didn't know the name of the school. I was like, Julia. But on a more serious note, we do learn that ever since Martina was diagnosed with both breast and throat cancer, they've put their adoption process on pause. I had a feeling that they would, but I really am hoping that Martina makes a full recovery and they're able to start the process back up again. Because you can see that Julia really does want another child. And again, my thoughts and prayers go out to the both of them. Now, the way I've been getting on Alexia about being self-centered, so is Larsa. Because when Andy read the viewer question asking Gertie about her sex life, and Gertie said, oh yeah, we actually upped it since Russell wants more. So Andy was like, oh my gosh, you guys are having sex more than 3 times a week? Like, that's great, especially since you guys have been together for 27 years. So now Andy wants to know who else has a great sex life besides Gertie and Russell. And I think Nicole raised her hand and Alexia. So now you have Larsa jumping in and she says, 3 times a week, that's nothing. When I was with Scotty, we had sex 4 times a night, every single day for 23 years. When I tell y'all, I must have rolled my eyes so far back because I was just so annoyed. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Also, when you were at Lisa's house on one of the episodes earlier on in this season, you said that after a while, you were in a loveless marriage. So I doubt that you were having sex during the later years when you guys fell out of love with each other. Also, since Scotty was on the road all the time, how are you guys having sex 4 times a night every single day? And when Gertie pointed that out, she said, but Scotty was on the road. And you said, well, we had a private plane and I would see him all the time. We were never apart from each other. And Larsa, I have to call you out because in season 1, Scotty wasn't home. And you were always talking about how you were doing this on your own with 4 kids. So that right there shows that you were lying. You were not flying out every single weekend when he was away playing. You were not pulling a Jackie Christie with 4 kids. So Andy's like, well, I guess Marcus Jordan has some big shoes to fill. And then Larsa says, yeah, he's a size 15. I said, okay, girl, and what does that mean? There are men with big feet, with small packages, so his shoe size means nothing. Like, again, how old are you? So now it's Larsa's turn to be interrogated, and Andy says, the last time I saw you, you were in the clubhouse, and I had asked you if you and Scotty talked about you dating Michael Jordan's son. So immediately, Larsa gets defensive, and she's like, well, it's not really his business, the same way that I don't ask about what he's doing. The only thing that me and Scotty need to discuss are the kids, and that's it. And it's so funny to me because for somebody who acts like she's so carefree and doesn't care about what people think about her, she gets awfully defensive every time she's questioned. You notice that? So obviously, you're not that confident in your choices then. Because why can't you answer a simple question? So now Andy wants to know if Scotty Jr. gets crap from his teammates about his mom dating Michael Jordan's son. Remember that Scotty Jr. plays in the NBA. I think he plays for the Lakers. So Larsa says, no, nobody cares. It's fine. The same way that I wonder what Giselle's kids think of her, I really do want to know, what do Larsa's kids think about her? So now Andy starts asking the really juicy questions, and he's like, so have you hung out with Marcus's family and Michael Jordan? And immediately she shuts it down. She's like, I don't want to talk about this. I feel really uncomfortable right now. Let's just focus on me and Marcus. So now Andy says, look, Larsa, you have to admit, this whole situation is weird. You are dating your ex-husband's teammate's son. So Larsa clarifies that she never met or hung out with Michael Jordan and his family, and how she met Scotty during Scotty's last year of him playing for the Bulls. So she wasn't around Juanita or any of the kids. So at this point, Andy's like, look, Larsa, even if you guys weren't close like that and didn't hang out, you still have to admit that it's weird. How would you feel if your son, Scotty Jr., started dating Michael Jordan's ex-wife, Juanita? So Larsa says, well, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't mind as long as he's happy. And I'm like, do you have rocks in your brain? Like, are you really that dumb? You'd be okay with your son dating Juanita Jordan. I just don't understand what goes through Larsa's head. I also feel like Larsa is very emotionally stunted. I think that she also suffers from arrested development because she behaves like she's still a teen. It's bizarre. I can't even explain it. Just the fact that Larsa's trying to brush off how weird this looks to everybody. Think about this for a minute. You cannot tell me that it isn't awkward that you are now dating your ex-husband's teammate's son. Of all the men in the world, you have to go for him. And then when Andy was asking, well, what if you and Marcus get married? Will you drop your last name or will you hyphenate it? I think Larsa said that she would drop Pippen and just have it be Larsa Jordan, but something tells me that she wouldn't. She would have it hyphenated because I think that deep down in her soul, she is the ultimate clout chaser. And she would love nothing more to be Larsa Pippen Jordan. But now we move on from that, and Andy starts reading viewer questions about Larsa's attitude and how she always goes below the belt in an argument. So before Larsa can answer, Andy asks another question, and he's like, how many of you ladies think that Larsa goes below the belt when she's upset? Of course, Nicole, Gertie, and Julia all raise their hands. And now you have Kiki chiming in saying, well, I'm all for Larsa defending herself. And then you have Marysol opening up her mouth, talking about, I love watching Larsa when she's upset. She's super reactionary. I just love it. And I loved when Andy clocked Marysol. He said, well, not so fast, Marysol, because in season 1, you didn't like Larsa's mouth because Larsa read you and your mother down and you were upset about it. And when I tell you that Marysol's face looked even more cracked than it already is, she was talking about, well, you know, that was in the past, and me and Larsa put that behind us. We're good. We love each other. We have mutual respect. I said Marysol truly sounds and looks like the bozo that she really is, because there is no way in hell that I would be defending somebody who read me and my mother. But Larsa defends her nasty ways by saying that when she feels challenged, she's going to go for the jugular because she hates to lose and she's a winner. Now, I understand that to a point, but not the way Larsa does it. For me to go to the jugular in an argument, you have to say something so gutter and so disgusting that I would do that. If it's a normal disagreement, I have enough self-control and sense to not take it to hell just because my feelings are a bit hurt. I'm a bit more mature than that. The minute you say one thing to Larsa, since she has the emotional capacity of a flea, she immediately wants to go to hell. Every argument, every disagreement does not warrant that. And with people like Larsa, when they go for the jugular, they like to sprinkle in some lies in an argument to throw you off. And I don't like that. She reminds me a lot of Marlo Hampton because Marlo loves to lie on people when she's losing an argument. That's her MO. She loves that. So now Andy brings up the whole mortgage argument between Larsa and Lisa, and even he says that was one of the dumbest arguments I have ever seen. So now Andy says to Lisa, Lisa, you do know that having a mortgage isn't a bad thing, right? So now Lisa gets offended and she's like, no, I didn't mean it that way. I know that having a mortgage isn't a bad thing. My whole point was I didn't like how Larsa was trying to imply that we couldn't afford our lifestyle. And then we also learned that Lenny and Lisa did have a mortgage because Lenny admitted that to the press. I said, Lisa, you were doing all that crying and the whole time it was true. Then we learned that Larsa was also right about Lenny and Lisa renting their house out on the weekends for money. And Lisa says, yes, that was true, but I was defending Lenny because we were still married, so I lied for him. But yeah, we would sometimes rent out the house on the weekends, and a lot of rich people do that, so it's not a problem. I'm not even gonna hold you, but hearing all this from Lisa, I just said, I have always felt like her and Lenny lived above their means. Larsa being nasty when Andy addressed how she was spreading the rumor around about Julia kissing a man. I said, Larsa, please, take that bass out of your voice. Stop screaming at people. I can't stand when she does that. But Larsa goes on to say that she called Julia first to let her know about the rumor about her kissing a man. And Julia says, well, that's funny because I never got a call from you. And then you have Larsa yelling, saying, girl, I called you, stop lying. And when Andy asked them all if they feel like Larsa weaponizes information that she has about them, And she was like, no, I don't do that. And I was like, Larsa, are you insane? You absolutely weaponize information that you hear about the other ladies. And you do it with a purpose to try and destroy them, lie on them, defame their character. You get off on that. So at this point, Nicole interjects and she's like, oh yeah, the same way that I slept with the whole hospital, right? So now Larsa's like, well, I don't lie. And now Nicole says, girl, stop. So now Marysol jumps in, of course, because she can't help herself and she is thirsty for some camera time. So she says, girl, we got so many DMs about you. So Nicole says, oh, really? From this fake account that Larsa has? So now Larsa starts screaming at Nicole and she's like, I have never had a fake account. I have a real job unlike you. And once again, what is Larsa on? What are you talking about? This woman is a doctor. What real job do you have besides this show? What is your occupation? You finally started a jewelry line with help from your ex-husband 2 years ago, and now you want to look down your nose saying, well, I have a real job, unlike you. Baby, if I were Nicole, I would have cleared that entire room out. Honey, I'm a doctor. I went to medical school. You could never.
If you know you're not fab, stop coming out like, bitch, like you that girl. You not fab like that to be doing all of that. Learn your place, earn your spot.
So Andy says, look, Larsa, you don't think it was a low blow to accuse Nicole of sleeping with the whole hospital? So now Larsa says, well, she wants to act so professional, but she's on here talking about giving blowjobs. And they were like, wait, what? And Nicole said, when I told that story was about Anthony, like my actual man. And we told the story, it was all in good fun. Again, I can't stand Larsa. For her to try to use that against Dr. Nicole like that, I was so disgusted. Nicole really eats you up. She's beautiful, she's younger, she has money, she has her man's money, her own career, and you hate that because everything that you have is because of Scottie Pippen. And even if Nicole and Anthony don't work out, Nicole will always be good. She'll always have a name for herself. She'll always be that girl. And you can't say the same. And it reminds me so much of Giselle and Robin and how they treat Wendy. So now Larsa brings up that she doesn't like Nicole because Nicole's man was talking about her. She's like, yeah, Anthony was calling me a homewrecker. Like, how dare he? Then she goes on to say that Nicole's a homewrecker too because she goes from man to help elevate herself. And Andy was like, that's not a homewrecker. And I was like, girl, at least think before you speak. You just throwing out words. That's not what that means, sis. And I was so here for Nicole checking Larsa. She was like, well, look, Anthony was standing by his family because you spoke about his child. So now here goes Larsa trying to play dumb. And Nicole says, when you made that comment about us having our son out of wedlock, that was a real asshole thing to say. So you have Larsa saying, well, I don't judge you. If that's what you want to do, I mean, it's okay. I don't care. And I was so happy when Andy co-signed it and said, that was an asshole thing to say, Larsa. And Larsa was quiet. And I said, it is about damn time that somebody is finally putting Larsa in her place. Now, I love the way Andy brought up how Nicole disinvited Larsa from her engagement party. And then you have Marysol jumping in saying, yeah, who helped you do that? Because you're not that clever. And Nicole was like, no, me and my makeup artist came up with that. And then Marysol said, yeah, of course, because you're not that clever or that witty to think of that on your own. And I was like, it doesn't matter who helped Nicole do that. It was still iconic. And Marysol, you have never had and you never will have an iconic moment on this show. Again, Marysol, Alexia, and Larsa have to be some of the most hateful women I have ever seen. I think they might be neck and neck, no pun intended, with Giselle and Robin. And on what planet is Marysol on where she thinks that she's the most clever one in the group? So now we get to the last few minutes of the second part, and Andy's asking Kiki why she's still single, and she says that because most of the men in Miami are like Lenny. So of course, we're back on the topic of Lisa and Lenny. Andy wants to know if the other women suspected that there were problems between them. And Gertie says that they were at this charity event And it was weird because Lenny did not want to go and join Lisa and the other women. And right there, she thought that it was strange. So Lisa says that throughout their marriage, Lenny was always socially awkward and kind of weird around people. And she thought that it was weird too when he did that. So now Lisa also shares that she did think it was weird when Lenny all of a sudden got back in shape and started losing weight because she was trying to get him to lose weight all throughout their marriage. So then we also learned that their sex life was non-existent right before he divorced her. And then we also find out that throughout their entire marriage, they were only having sex like once a week or once every other week. And I was like, girl, what?
No.
You had that poor of a sex life for 15 years? No shade, but I would have divorced Lenny after the first 6 months. Lisa, girl, your marriage was doomed from the start. Like, you guys never had a fighting chance. So the Halloween party gets brought up, and Lisa says that Lenny really wanted to have it, and that's why she went along with it. And then we find out that they had 600 people there. And so Kiki interjects and says that she used to always go to their parties all the time before she even knew Lisa. So she goes on to add that since she's a model, a lot of her model friends used to hook up with Lenny, and that Lenny's been cheating on Lisa for years. I said, come through, Kiki, with all the tea. And that's where the second part ends. And when I tell you that I cannot wait for this last part. But guys, that was my double recap. Alexia, Larsa, and Marysol wore me completely out. I cannot stand them. And I hope that somebody gets them all together for season 6 because they are insufferable. But y'all, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.